Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode, the next episode of Van Helsing. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. The penultimate episode, immediately picking up after last episode, it seemed like Vanessa's bite initially kind of didn't seem like it had any effect. You're like, okay, didn't think it would, but Vanessa drops her disguise as Nina, and it's like, alright, and I like that whole, that smile on her face. She's got this devilish smile before she attacks Dracula again. But I was like, I don't know. It was pretty badass. But it's like, right, you locked me in there thinking it was gonna break me, but I came out stronger than ever. But it's like, oh, you still don't match me. And it's like, oh, your bite did nothing. But in that moment, Olivia comes out, and it's like, oh, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when they cure a vampire like that, the human inside of them kind of rises to the surface. In her case, I guess it's just layered under so much darkness. It makes you wonder if Jack and Violet actually save Olivia, if Vanessa got another opportunity, if she bit her multiple times, would she be able to fully bring out Olivia? Maybe not. I don't know. It makes you wonder how that would work. But she was able to kind of bring Olivia to the surface enough. She doesn't know the story. Jack is the only one that really knows all there is to really know about everything. But Vanessa was going to try and bite Dracula again, but Dracula wasn't having that. But luckily, Olivia was able to fight her off and just go ahead, stab me. Just get out of here while you got the chance. And ultimately was able to make it out of there because of Olivia. I think just because the Dark One was already in a weakened state, not having her full power, plus, Vanessa kind of freeing. I mean, to be fair, Olivia did die, but she did get resurrected before becoming the Dark One's host. So it put, if she was just a dead corpse, I think it'd be a different situation. But because she was resurrected before then, it changes the circumstances. At the same time, we're picking up with the aftermath of the whole situation with Bathory. I was like, my justification last episode was like, oh, maybe because Jack's time travel, maybe that's why she's at, it's like, oh, she's confused because, but I was like, it didn't, my explanation for it was kind of last episode being because technically when Jack went back in time, she was actually speaking the Romani language the entire time, but to us it just sounded like English. That was my justification for it, and I thought that's what was kind of happening here. It's it didn't even cross my mind. It's right, she did read from the scroll, and she talked about her mom going insane because of it. It's that's what this was all about. It didn't even cross my mind to think that. It's right, she's in the state she's in kind of a psychotic manic state right now because essentially becoming a vampire, it's so it basically put all that on hold, because I forgot what else dabbled in that. I want to say maybe was it the Vampire Diaries, or I think no, Angel did that. They made it so that if you became human again, whatever thing you were dealing with before becoming a vampire will come back again. So if you were suffering from cancer when you became a vampire, it stopped and cured your cancer, but the moment you come back to being human, you're afflicted with again. Kind of seems like that's the case of this. Basically her being a vampire kept her madness at bay. Now that she's human again, her vampire mind her human mind can't handle it, and now it's driving her insane again. So Jack is staying with Bathory as they're kind of taken to a new safe spot while Ivory goes off to try and find a new note from Vanessa, then gets reunited with Axel and Violet, but then a police officer walks up, Axel and Violet feels something and know it's her immediately, and she changes. It's yeah! It's we're getting the band back together again. I literally was yeah! Everyone's together. Well, not everyone. Obviously, no Julius, no Flash, no Doc, but still. And then, it's even Vanessa looking at Ivory and being new player, and it's oh yeah, and which I'm it's actually kind of cute when you actually think about it, because it's right, girlfriend meet mom meet Jack's girlfriend. It's just interesting to think about. It's meeting the parent finally, because it crossed my mind, I do correct me in the comments down below. I don't think Ivory and Vanessa have ever met over the course of this series. Because I know the Sisterhood crossed paths with Axel and Scarlet in season 2, but I don't think Vanessa ever met up with. This might be her first time ever meeting Ivory. I think like I said, do correct me in the comments down below, but I don't think they've ever met on. I don't think they've ever been on screen together until now. I was oh, that was just something that crossed my mind. Like I said, it could be wrong, but if not, that's really, really interesting. But it's like, right, new allies in this fight as well, so... But they meet up with Jack, and it's just like, yeah, oh my god, it's so good to be reunited. It's like, okay, so we got Bathory. It's like, wait, the Oracle? Like, Vanessa, of course, well... Axel isn't shy about it later on, but Vanessa holds a little bit more decorum with how she feels about it. She's like, oh, but the Oracle is the Oracle. It's like, yeah, but Jack's like, I knew her when she was just Bathory. I knew her before she became the Oracle. She was like us, a vampire hunter. It's like, if anything, she kind of reminded me of you. And Vanessa was like, right. Of course, Bathory's going to be a sore spot for you, considering the fact is she was basically there your entire life trying to push you down the path of darkness. She's the reason why Scarlet's dead and everything. So, like, she helped take a lot from you. Same thing for Axel. Axel's super not about forgiving her. You know, it's like, oh, you play your part and then we're done. Like, hopefully I never have to see you for the rest of my life. It's like, I mean, hell, like, you would think... to be fair, Jack had time to deal with it because she did try to kill Bathory, but they became allies and friends. I'm sure it still was kind of a sore spot for Violet because, right, Bathory did kill their dad, so, but obviously for Jack, she's apologetic to, Bathory because it's like, right, I failed you before, now you're in this state right now because of me, like, I know you were scared of becoming like your mom, but it's like, please, like, I need your help, like, I mean, this entire plan is centered around her and that scroll of neutralizing the Dark One's powers, but Vanessa sits down and talks with Jack, you know, because it's like, right, you sent me back in time, and it's like, yeah, but you discovered the scroll, you discovered Bathory, so now we have the key to fighting everything, but it's also like, right, also for Jack, it's like, right, there's the whole Olivia thing, I knew that she was the Dark One, so I murdered her, so I think it's the complicated thing of like, you know, it's like, I went back in time and I didn't do everything I should have, you know, I could have stopped things back then, who knows how everything could have played out if I had stopped her back then, but it's like, right, but we're armed with the knowledge necessary to stop her now. But I think it's also a thing too, is like, right, Vanessa sadly got innocent blood on her hands in certain regards as well, so I think that's why she's not trying to judge her too harshly. What I also thought was interesting is like, they were setting up this whole thing with, Ivory, where it seems like obviously her memories about everything that she's done, like, was kind of hitting her, and she was just like, oh, like, I think the whole point was to make you think the Dark One was speaking to her, because she kept hearing these voices, and you're like, okay, what's up with that? And she's trying to pretend like everything's okay. She ended up talking to Jack about it later on, but for her, it's like she's, whatever it was she was listening to and feeling, is like, it reminded me of the sisterhood, but it's like, you said they were all dead. She's like, yeah, to my knowledge, because she's not aware of there being any more sisters out there, but maybe there are. But I'm like, what was that all about? Was it just simply like now being human again and everything? Like, she's been human for a while, so I was like, could it just be like the ghost of the past haunting? Like, what was that? It's like, that had, like, maybe that's something that's going to come up in the next episode or something, but I'm like, that was just kind of like, but it was like, that was like out of nowhere. Because she's like, I thought it was a Dark One, but no, it sounded more like my sister, so it's got to be something to that. What necessarily, I don't know. You have Axel, as well as some other military dudes, rolling up that general from, not the last episode, but the episode before last, in episode 10, who Davis talked to, ended up being helping save the vice president. It's like, right, these are vampires you're rolling with. All right, they kind of kidnapped him, which, yeah, technically speaking, this is treason. But it's like, all right, we're going to have to convince him. So it's like, right, tell him everything that's going down. He doesn't believe it. He thinks, it's like, oh, Ivory, you were the vampire. And, oh, you, Violet, you're the vampire. Which, like, no matter what, it's like, right, we got this message from the president, like, he was alive. It's like, right, he's telling you to believe everything we're saying. He's like, yeah, so you're telling me vampires can be like anyone, then how do I know you're faking? Axel's like, geez, man, what do you want us to do to prove it? And so Violet bites him. It's like, hey, you think I'm a vampire? Well, if you got a couple minutes, well, got a little bit. If you turn, okay, you were right. If you don't, that means you got to basically accept everything that we're saying. To be fair, his rationale isn't too crazy, because it's like, right, you're saying that vampires can impersonate humans. Like, who's to say, like, everything you're telling me is true? I mean, we didn't throw it out there, but let's not, because it would have hurt their point. But Vanessa can do that too, so you can understand his reservation. But it's like, yeah, the president you've been serving this entire time hasn't really been the president. It's actually a monster known as the Dark One. So But obviously, Vanessa is helping with the whole Bathory thing. She ends up going inside of Bathory's mind, trying to draw out the darkness. Which obviously for Jack, it's like, our dad did that, and like that took its toll on us. You know, that'd be a lot of pain for anyone to handle. But for Vanessa, it's like, I think episode, was it 9? Gave her the insight to kind of deal with her pain. Like, that was all about her confronting the pain that she kind of buried so deep for so long, and kind of like tried to like numb herself to all of it. So she embraced that pain, and she's learned to kind of like deal with that pain. And so she was able to take on Bathory's darkness, and I ended up drawing it out and saving her life ultimately. And it just like Bathory being so, she's like, oh, thank you, thanking both Vanessa and Jack for saving her life. But yeah, she still has her role to play in ending all of this. Dark One still, her beloved's kind of slipped from her grasp, but it's like, no, I can still feel you. You're still alive, my beloved. So you're going to be my means to ending all of this. So I guess the entire episode, she was actually getting inside of Bathory's head. Maybe Bathory being in the state that she was in, because Bathory was fighting back, you know, and she was just like, no. I'm wondering, was she actually trying to kill Bathory initially, the way she got Bathory to hurt herself, or was Bathory doing that, just trying to, like, in that state of mind she was in, that was her way of trying to, like, fight the Dark One creeping in? Maybe them actually healing her mind basically made it actually easier for the Dark One to finally get inside of her head, because it was like, right, in the state she was in, like, her mind was so jumbled it made it impossible to fully control it, but them healing her made it possible, cleared her mind enough that the Dark One could have her way. So all the plan is being enacted. We're getting everything ready, clearing out everyone in the White House, just so that it's Dracula as well as the Delta Force, and need to take them out. Like, everyone that's, you know, non-vampire, non-evil, like, we need them out of the White House when we plan to strike. Obviously, the plan is still what it is, to draw out and neutralize the darkness and seal away all of it this time, not just a fraction of it. What I also thought was pretty dope is Vanessa and Violet having a heart-to-heart. She's like, hey, Violet, can you come here? And you know what? Talk to her. She's like, right, I figured this is, you know, we never really got the opportunity to know each other. It's like, no, it's cool. And like, Violet's a little distant. She's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, Violet's trying to harden herself because she's lost a lot, you know, and she doesn't want to. She lost Julius recently. They lost their dad. Like, so for her, it's like, after everything, like, try not to get too close to Vanessa, because like, none of us know how this ends. But Vanessa's like, I know, that's exactly the point. Like, none of us do, but you don't need to harden yourself. It's okay to feel what you want to feel. Because even for Violet, it's like, we're just DNA. But I love that, you know, Vanessa speaks from her heart. It's like, no, like, regardless of anything, I still feel it. You know, like, as I've talked about before in previous episodes, she gets that instinct of like, wait, no, Jack and Violet are in trouble. It's like the same feeling she would have towards Dylan, she has towards him. Like, wait, my children are in trouble. My children need me. I need to be there for them. It's like, I still feel that. And even Violet's like, wait, you do? You know, because for her, she knows what that pain is of wanting to harden yourself because of what you've lost. She lost Dylan. She lost Scarlett. She lost the mother she never really got to know. She never really got to know her biological mom either. So she can understand on a level with Jack and Violet. But for her, you know, that pain, it's like, it's easy to kind of try and like push that pain away and try not to let yourself feel, because it can be so heavy. But the fact is that because of, you know, they don't know how this whole thing should shake out and can shake out. We got to feel what we feel. Like, we don't need to kind of run away from those feelings. We need to embrace them, because that's what makes us human. That's what we need to latch on to at the end of all of this, you know? So I still get the feeling like Vanessa's not 100% sure if she's coming out of this alive, but at the very least, she wants to make sure Jack and Violet do. So, and just like this heartwarming moment of hugging, it's like, so it's like she gets to be, you know, it's like, yeah, no, like, I am your mom and everything, and you guys are so important to me, and like, it's just a teary-eyed, beautiful moment. It's like, oh, it's so good. And Jack's like, is everything okay? You know, and Violet being like, yeah, I actually think everything will be. I think that was a necessary moment for Violet. Maybe it's setting up the next step of all of this being her, because she's the one that did take into darkness before and was able to spit it out. Now, maybe with kind of a clearer heart, like, Vanessa's adventures let her kind of have the clarity that she has, and now she's kind of passing it on to Violet. She kind of had her moment earlier with Jack as well. I was almost hoping for her to grab both of them and hug them like that. In that moment, it would have been, but still, it was a really beautiful heart-to-heart moment that they had, so... But circling back to the Bathory thing, maybe that's why it was so... Like, the moment she was just like... The moment Jack was explaining the entire plan to her, I was like, that's the Dark One listening in and figuring out everything. Because it did seem like she didn't have access to certain knowledge. Because it's like, oh yeah, like I failed before. And it's like, wait, didn't you realize like Vanessa just cleared your mind and everything? It's like, because the Dark One wasn't in control of her mind at the time. So she wasn't aware of what went down. She only knows what she knows. What she knew through like, I think other stuff. Because obviously she was there when Bathory did what she did. So she has that knowledge, but she didn't know. That's why Bathory was kind of like, her memory is a little foggy in that moment. She was like, not realizing like, no, remember Vanessa just saved you and cleared your mind and everything. But obviously and it could have just easily been Dracula speaking through her at the time, but it was kind of like I don't know if I can do this, but it's like, right, but you are the centerpiece to our entire plan. And Bathory ends up stabbing Jack in the heart and taking off with the amulet. They end up chasing after her to the rooftop. Axel's the one that's all about, man, let me just put a bullet in her head. But Jack is like, no. Let me, like, speak. Because for Jack, it's like, Vanessa's eased up a bit because she's seen Bathory. It's like, especially because Jack's putting so much faith in her. If Jack believes in her, I'm going to believe in her. But the sad, because for Jack, it's like, no, you were my friend, you were my ally. Because I think she blames herself. Like, so this is her opportunity to save Bathory and also make up for the past. It's like, we fought side by side, allies. You never wanted things to go this way. You even told me if things ever went that far for me to kill you, but I didn't in the long run. And it's like, you sacrificed yourself. You gave it your all and ended up serving under the Dark One for so long. And I think that's what led to all of this, because Bathory, I guess, mind is in a weakened state because of everything that she went through, but also she was enthralled by the Dark One for centuries. Like, the fact is, you were one of her brides. Like, you kind of gave your everything to her. Like I brought up before, it's like you were the one that were like so willing to give everything to the Dark One, when the other brides didn't necessarily have that same level of like devotedness to a certain extent. But I think all that, like, because it's like, oh, your ambitions and stuff like that. Like, I guess it was more so like, because her as a vampire and her being kind of submissive like that all kind of led to her ambitions of what she was very ambitious as an oracle and stuff like that. Or, I don't know whether she's responding to that or just because being the vampire just kind of amplifies what was already there. Like, it more like it amplifies it and adds a layer of darkness to it. But I think in the case of, I don't know whether she was referencing like Bathory's ambitions as a vampire or what she had as a human that were just amplified and twisted as a vampire. But it's like, that's what it's like, oh, her weak-willed and so filled with ambition allowed me to take control of her. Because it is sad that like Bathory was still being used at the very end there. And, obviously they're trying to get the amulet back, but not before Bathory ends up releasing it. And now Bathory was free of the spell, and she decides, like, because like, I can't help, and she ends up killing herself because she doesn't, it's like, she's been under the Dark One's sway for centuries. Like, it's like, like, I won't be controlled, you got control of me again. It's like, no, I'm not going to spend another moment under your control, and sacrifices herself. And obviously for Jack, it's like she didn't want that. I mean, not only is she the key to the plan, but also I think it's probably mostly that, but it's also like, you were a friend and an ally. I didn't want things to end this way. I wonder what life would have been for Bathory. Like, I mean, Julius adapted to, like, I mean, granted, this wasn't like the real world, it was the apocalypse and everything, but he adjusted to, a reality of not being a vampire after being a vampire for decades like that. He found his place, and you're almost hoping Bathory would be able to get the same. I don't think she'll be able to survive that because she was never bitten by a daywalker. She was just a regular vampire that got turned back to human, so she's kind of a regular human. She doesn't even have like the healing capability, so that is kind of the end for her. but also with her death comes, oh cool, so we're kind of screwed. Oh, and now the Dark One has all her powers back, and she goes super mega god level. Because that was I didn't expect that, like when she, and just like I like the transition between like, oh, present day to like Transylvania, but also like her glowing blue like that, and like, oh, this is like, I wasn't expecting things to get that god level, like, and just shooting that dark beam in the sky. It's like, right, she needed her full power to go full world conquest all at once. What that darkness stretching out necessarily means, I'm curious. Like, I guess it's going to unite every vampire scattered around the world, or is it more so going to be a thing of like, is it going to infect people and bring out the worst? And like, how the darkness is, I mean, enveloping the world in darkness gives you the benefit. Well, I was about to say, like, most vampires are daywalkers right now. Well, not most. A lot of them are daywalkers anyway, so I'm just curious to know what the darkness necessarily is going to entail. Like, obviously, she was on her way to doing this in Transylvania, but Jack and them ended up stopping her, but now she's at full strength. They don't have Bathory. Like, who's going to read that scroll? Like, how do you battle her, especially now that she's at full strength, because none of them can necessarily stop her in this state, so who knows? Things kind of look pretty dire. I wasn't expecting things to be. I figured it was going to be a dire situation, but I wasn't expecting it to be this dire. So all hopes it's there, but it also seems like, right, their trump card is gone. Beyond this, what do you have? What are you going to do? Because with all that power back, I doubt Olivia's there to hold her back anymore. Like, the Dark One's full in control again, full powered up, ready to engulf the world in darkness. So. But I'm curious to see how this all plays out. The freaking orange cloud didn't come up. I'm like, wow, that still only ended up being like, maybe it'll come up in the series finale. I have no idea. I have no idea how this is all going to play out. We don't even know. I have no idea who's going to survive this. Because part of me the entire time was like, oh, I hope Ivory survives. Once again, there's also the question of, what was that whole thing about your sisterhood? Like, you were feeling something. Like, is that going to, you know, or maybe like what she was feeling is more so the voices connected to this, like this family she's a part of with Vanessa, Axel, Violet, and Jack. Like maybe something there. I don't know. I'm so curious to see how this plays out, because like this could definitely be the type of show where like some people die in the series finale. Like not everyone makes it out. You know, I could definitely get that vibe to it. We'll ultimately have to wait and see how everything plays out in the series finale. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.